The Bible talks about a time when there is going to be conflict in Israel that will be connected to what's happening in the end times. It will happen during the tribulation and in particular at the end of the tribulation. There are two different battles. One is going to happen right at the end of the tribulation and another one's going to happen at the end of the millennium. So some of you guys may say, I don't even know what those words mean. So let me go back a step. Tribulation is a 7-year period of trouble. Sometime during that time, Christians are going to be zapped out and there's just going to be pain and persecution, difficulty the whole time. It's going to end in a cataclysmic war. After that time, Jesus will reign in Israel for 1,000 years. That time is called the millennium. And then at the end of that, there will be one final battle where Satan will be thrown into the pit of hell forever and ever. Amen. The new heavens and the new earth will come. And that's when the new chapter will begin. So tribulation, millennium, and the new heavens and new earth. Now, the Bible talks about the wars in Israel. So these are both in Ezekiel chapter 38 and in the portions of Revelation and Matthew 24. Those are 3 key passages to look at that talk about the wars. Well, they're at the end of the tribulation and the end of the millennium. I don't believe that the tribulation has started yet. So I don't think the wars that are happening in Israel right now are connected to the prophecy of Ezekiel 38 or Matthew 24 or Revelation. Does that make sense? Did I make that totally convoluted? So in general, we've seen wars in Israel since Israel was a nation, right? From 1000 BC through the time of Jesus, through the Roman Empire, through about 6 or 7 different empires since then, there have always been wars in Israel. So we can't say because there is a war in Israel, that's a sign of the end times because they've been happening during the entire time. Are you guys tracking with me on this? So we know that there are signs that things are going to take place, that the coming of Jesus is getting closer, and some of those signs are happening. So it's not that there's a war, but there's other signs. I'll give you a couple of examples. And if you're interested, we've got an entire, I did an entire 30-minute 7 reasons why Jesus is coming sooner than you think. You can find it on our channel on YouTube and watch the whole thing if you want to. But I'll give you a couple of quickies here. One of them is that Israel is a nation at all. A lot of the prophecies in the Old Testament can't be fulfilled unless Israel is in fact a nation. And Israel was not a nation from around 500 BC until 1948 AD. So it was impossible for those things to be fulfilled for about a 2,500-year period of time. And since 1948, when Israel has been a nation, now it's possible for a lot of those things to be fulfilled. A second reason to believe that the end times are closer than you think is that there is a mass immigration back to Israel. You can find about a dozen passages throughout the Old Testament that say when the end times are getting close, God is going to call his people back from the 4 corners of the earth to move back to Israel. And you're finding people from Asia, from Russia, from Germany, from Sudan, from Egypt, from all around the world. Jewish people are coming back to resettle in their homeland in a way that has not happened in the history of the world since Jesus has been here. And we see that prophecy being fulfilled. Another prophecy that you see in the Old Testament that is being fulfilled is the blooming of Israel. So you'll see a ton of passages. Isaiah 41, 19, and 20 is one of my favorites around this. But it talks about how Israel is going to bloom once again. Now, before I went to Israel, I've been to Israel 4 times now, and before I went, I thought that that was just a metaphorical speak, like, oh, it's going to become a nation and it'll flourish and prosper, except that literally Israel, which was a desert in the first half of the 20th century, is now a net exporter of food. It's a major farming community, and in the Middle East, it's the most flourishing farming community is this little dinky nation of Israel. And they've got tons of amazing food. They've planted millions of trees. They've regained all kinds of farmland. What the Bible predicted with the nation literally blooming is happening in Israel today. So those are just 3 little indicators that you would say, man, these are indicators that Jesus is coming back. In Matthew chapter 24, Jesus says, there will be wars and rumors of wars, but when you hear about them, don't be alarmed. Okay, you guys connecting with that? You'll have wars and rumors of wars, but don't be alarmed. So in particular, Jesus says, wars are not a signal of my coming back. They're just gonna happen all along the time. They're like birth pangs that are happening before the birth happens, and they're gonna keep on happening. But I do think that Jesus is coming a lot sooner than people think, based on other prophecies that we see that are being fulfilled in the New Testament. If you want the kind of best place to start on this, if this is a hobby for you, Mark 13 and Matthew 24 are the two places that Jesus talks about what's going to happen before he comes. That's a great place to start your study.